So yeah, we've got some questions from the listeners. One of which I'm going to save until we kind of get on to the Survivor Series discussion. Spoilers, we will be talking some wrestling. So I'll save that one because it relates to The Undertaker. The first one being, what was the first ever computer game you got hooked on? This is from Holly Williams, by the way, listener of the show. What was the first ever computer game you got hooked on? Mine was Chucky Egg. Do any of you remember Chucky Egg? I don't remember Chucky Egg.
No.
Well, we're all too young, I think, for Chucky Egg.
Shit off, because I tried that on the Facebook group. I tried to claim that I'm too young, but it was a lie. I do remember Chucky Egg.
Let's Google Chucky Egg. Elaborate, Sid. What the hell is it?
Well, and again, like I think when you cast your mind back to games of kind of that era, it was very limited from memory. It was like a proper old school, I think it was Spectrum and Commodore, but it was a platformer. But it was a platformer from that era. So yes, there were purple ladders, green platforms, and you just kind of had to work your way around it without getting murdered. And it was basic. I'll go with that.
It's very Donkey Kong-like.
Yeah, I think that probably was their mass inspiration on it. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of very iconic at the time, and it was like one of the big games that were around. But I think when I guess we get to our ones, mine is relatively similar to that, but mine was Jet Set Willy, which was again a similar, an old school platformer of around that time. So I think our choices were somewhat limited, I guess, and I don't know, probably when I had it, I probably thought it was amazing. But yes, I do. I've certainly heard lots of people across the years this being one of the ones that they remember very iconically, and I just wonder whether it's because it had a chicken in it. And
revolutionary.
It had quite an iconic cover, so I wonder, and like quite a different cool name, I guess. So I wonder whether that's what really resonated with people on Chucky Egg.
DRB, I'll hand it over to you. What kind of got you into gaming? Like, was there a specific game that hooked you in as a Wii DRB?
I'm struggling to remember. I definitely played Jet Set Willy, and that would have been when I was about 3 or something stupid. But I think the first ones that sort of got me hooked were Flimbo's Quest, maybe one or two of the Dizzy games, and probably most hilariously Fantastic Freddy's Big Top O Fun, which was a very sadistic circus game where a lot of people got maimed.
Nice. The perfect material for luring a young lad into a new hobby.
Indeed. I would probably say Flimbo's Quest, though. I remember obsessing over that, trying to beat that damn thing, and I never did until I was an adult and played it much later on an emulator. That was just like a platformer game. There were 7 levels. You had to save the princess or whatever it was. It was sort of a Mario ripoff. Yeah. Enjoyed that.
Mid, what about yourself?
I think far back I can remember probably Dig Dug on the Atari 2600.
Dig Dug, nice.
I used to play that all the time. I think that was the main game I played on the 2600, and then when we got on NES, it was the Turtles game on the NES came with it.
Nice.
So I played that quite a lot. It was very hard, that game.
I had that on the C64. My entry into gaming was Commodore. I don't know what it was for you guys. Sounds like Atari 2600 for you mids.
Yeah.
Commodore 64 for me.
DRB.
My sister had a Spectrum, but when I was very young, it broke, and she got a Commodore 64 to replace it. So Commodore.
Yeah. I think that's quite the typical route in for British, boys and girls back in the 80s. The Commodore 64 seemed like everyone had them. It was either Commodore or Amstrad, wasn't it, at the time? But
Fiendish Freddy's Big Top O Fun. Just looking it up now.
No, makes it sound more fiendish, obviously. Yeah,
indeed.
I think mine, strangely enough, was a cricket game, and I think it was Graham Gooch's Test Match Cricket. And I don't know why. I think for some reason my dad came home from work one day with the Commodore 64. This was like mid-80s. That his friend at work had just given him, which I thought was an incredible gesture in those days. Because those things probably weren't cheap. But yeah, and I think the first game we played was either that or some football game. I can't remember what it was called, but our Commodore 64 had like a cartridge port at the back as well.
International Soccer.
That was it, I think, DRB. Yeah. So just being able to, it blew our minds. Me and my brother's minds just were blown by this, being able to play football on the living room TV. It was after that.
It's funny you should say that, because that was exactly like my transition in me. My dad bought one home for work, and I don't think he ever used it for work. I think he just managed to kind of convince whoever his boss was at the time he needed it, because I think he only ever played games on it as well. And yeah, it was just amazing. And I remember at the time, like certain games that I played, and I guess because we'd had nothing before, you were just like, this is amazing, and it will never get better than this. And I even remember, hopefully I haven't told on this before, but I remember me and my brother playing Summer Games 2, and I think we might have got to Amiga at that point. And we were doing the first event, which was pole vault, and I remember saying, this is like watching someone on telly. This is so close to real. Not that long ago, I actually Googled it and looked at what the graphics were like to see how stupid I was, and my God, I was stupid. It was not even close to reality.
A couple of bricks with eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got their own route into gaming. It's incredible how far we've come. You know, when you turn on that PlayStation 5 and you see some of the graphics being output, but yeah, everyone has that.
We said it, didn't we, last week when we were talking about the load times of PlayStation 5. And I think if you compare that to like when we had the Commodore 64s or the Spectrums or something like that, we'd wait 20 minutes for the cassette to come through, only to find out that it wasn't going to load, so you had to go back to the beginning again.
That awful noise of a bit.
Yes. Yeah, surprised it didn't send kids of the 80s into seizures.
And so the only thing I was going to say is, as an honourable mention, because I couldn't really remember which way round it was, whether it was Jet Set Willie that got me in, or whether it was Mr. Do, and it was you saying Dig Dug mid, because I think ostensibly they were actually exactly the same game, but Mr. Do was one that you could play at the video game arcades, and I grew up in a seaside town, and I think, like my time was not always sort of gaming at home. We did spend a lot of time in the video game arcades, and I just remember spending hours and hours and hours on that. I just couldn't stop playing it. But eventually I got rid of the habit because I found fruit machines and decided to become an addict to those instead. So all's well that ends well.
Mr. Do, I've never heard of that, but that kind of looks like a Pac-Man-ish type clone.
Yeah, you are kind of like digging around, and you have to like pick up like cherries on the map, and there are people sort of chasing you. But yeah, very very similar to Dig Dug, and I think they were both Namco made anyway. So I imagine probably the same development team or something like that. But yeah, God, the hours I lost playing that.
Yeah, the thing is with those some games from that era, they were just so like pure distilled gameplay, weren't they?
Yeah, I think I used to play a lot of Qbert as well.
Qbert. Yes. Yeah. Our history goes back quite a long way by the sounds of things with gaming.
Problem is, if I put it on now, I'll probably play it for like less than 10 seconds. And like, fuck this is shit.
The thing is, most of them don't hold up very well. But what I've also found when I've tried is they're bloody hard, and they're hard not because they're designed to be hard. They're hard because they're just very limited on how you can control them. And we're so used to these super precise controls now that you're going, turn fucking left. I'm pressing left, you dickhead. But no, I mean, I don't know. I often think to myself, I want to do a bit of retro gaming until I actually do some retro gaming and go, oh, these are a bit rough, aren't they?
Yeah, the allure is certainly better than what the actual result is, isn't it? Gaming, love it.